I get asked all the time what podcast platform I use and which one I recommend the most. And spoiler alert, it's Captivate. I'm going to walk you through what Captivate looks like, what I actually use day in and day out as a podcast manager and a podcast strategist, and some features that I think are cool but are optional. So if you've been thinking about switching your podcast host, or if you simply just want to see what it looks like to get a feel if it's the right fit for you, for your podcast host, then my friend, you're in the best place. Let's jump on into Captivate. By the way, this video is not sponsored by Captivate. I just genuinely love Captivate and recommend them every single chance I get to all the students in my community and all of my one-on-one clients. But if you're interested in trying it out for yourself, there is a link in the video description below. It does support my business if you decide to use it, which I greatly appreciate. All right, so here we are inside of Captivate, and out of the gate, I love the interface of Captivate. I think it is very clean and minimal and modern and sleek, and I love how it looks. And then right away, you can see your all-time downloads, which I absolutely love logging in and seeing that. I can also see at a glance how my podcast is performing over the last 7 days, over the last 28 days, and over the last 90 days, which is just really good insight to see. And I love the fact that it gives you the contrast of red and green. So I love that because that gives you a really instant picture of how your show is doing for, again, that week, that month, or that quarter. And so then you can come down here and click on full analytics. And so if I click on that, it's going to load a summary, which I honestly don't spend too much time on this section of it. And I will show you where I go, but it shows you from, I guess it looks like about a year ago. And if I go up here, I like to click on engagement. So when I click on engagement, this is going to give me what I think is a much clearer picture, the picture that I actually want. And so I can see, the waves of my podcast, but this is only going back 28 days. So if I scroll up here, I can actually change the date range. So one of the things I love to do is I love to come up here and I love to go to all-time downloads. And so it might take a minute to load, just depending. And so you can clearly see the waves of my podcast and the ups and the downs. And by the way, having a show with analytics like this, as far as like the waves, is very, very normal. I have produced and managed a ton of shows, and this is very normal. It's what every single one of them looks like. And you can also clearly see there were times where I was not publishing episodes and you saw a huge dip. And then I also stopped publishing episodes unintentionally and not planned over the summer. And so you do see a pretty big dip here as well. But overall, if you kind of ignore these little dips here, it's steady and it's also growing. If you can see here, this was my highest downloaded month ever in January of 2025 when I hosted my very first virtual summit, which makes me so excited because that was one way that I grew my podcast the most. If you want to learn more about that, make sure that you go join my school community that is in the description of this video. But you'll also see that this month is my second highest month ever in almost 3 years, which is pretty dang cool. So you can clearly see a clear picture here. You can also go by a date range as far as like you can compare months together. So another thing that I like to do, aside from looking at the all-time downloads, I just like to see how my show performs from year to year. So my trailer launched in December of 2022, but the podcast actually launched early January 2023. So I'm going to go to custom, and then it's currently on today's date, but I'm going to go back to 2022, and I'm going to go to December, and I'm going to go to the 26th. And then I'm going to re-click that because I needed to clear that out. So December 26th of 2022, and then I'm going to see how my show did all of 2023. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. So now I can clearly see that for basically the first year of the podcast, I had 2,617 downloads. But now I want to know, okay, how did my show do from January 1st, 2024? And then I know that January of 2025 was a really big month for my business and for the podcast. So I'm actually, instead of doing it to the first, I'm actually going to extend it to January 31st. And so the podcast doubled from the first year to the second year, essentially. And so I love seeing that. And also over here underneath the engagement tab, not only can you see all of the all-time downloads, but you can also see these sections here: listened using, listened on, operating system. It also shows you all of the countries that your show has been listened to, which is absolutely amazing. And you can come over here and do audience. and it gives you the breakdown. I really don't spend too much time on this particular page. You can also compare episodes. I also don't spend too much time on this page. But what I do spend time on is over here, the episodes overview, which is gold if you want to know the episodes that your listeners are loving the most. So you can come over here and you can go to, again, date range, and you can click on all time. And this is the quickest way. And then you can go to total downloads. There's a little toggle arrow here. And then if you hit the up arrow, actually, it's going to show you. And every time I look at this, I kind of crack up because my most downloaded episodes are my very first episode and then the trailer. Super interesting that the very third most downloaded episode is how to make money with your podcast. Very, very interesting. So this gives you a clear picture of what your listeners want to hear, right? And so that is a cool way that you can see what kind of content that you should double down on or, revisit, all the things. And then I'm going to quickly show you 2 features that I love the most as a podcast manager. All right. So feature number 1 is the team section. I can add a team member, meaning my clients, when they hire me to manage their podcast or to help them launch their podcast, all they have to do is type in my email address here and give me the role of administrator and then add team member. And then it's really, really cool because I can use my account to log into their Captivate account. So I don't even have to log out of mine, no passwords needed. I absolutely love a good swatch when you can just hop in and out of accounts like that. So I love that feature. And then also one of the most, as a podcast manager, I love it, but also just as a podcast host, it's so needed. So this is the show notes manager. And so you can see I have 3 different versions here. So this was version number 1 that I used in 2023 and then 24. And then this is my current version. So if I click on here, these are my evergreen show notes. So when I go to pop in my show notes, I put the description of the episode right above this here, which is why there's a big space. And then if I mention anything, like for example, I'm going to put here, sign up for Captivate, right? Because I'm going to do a audio version of this YouTube video for the podcast. And so that way I don't have to copy and paste or do any of that. I just have to enter the links, enter the description, and be done. So I absolutely love it. And then just to show you how it works in action, if I go to create new, if I wanted to create a new podcast episode, my show notes are automatically going to populate right here. So it's just very amazing. And so there's so many other things that Captivate has. I'm not even going to spend a lot of time talking about all the features because it's really just something you need to get in there and, see for yourself. But they have link analysis. So you can actually use this to see how many people have actually clicked on the links in your show notes, which is huge to see how many people have actually clicked the links in your show notes. If you're tracking metrics, it's just something that you need to know. And so you can put your label here and the link here, and it'll tell you how many links that you had. I know it seems like a lot of links here, but I haven't really used it much at all, to be honest with you. It's been about over a year since I've used this. So that's really cool. And then attribution links connect to the dynamic ads, which I'm going to get into in a second, which brings me to the bulk ad editor. So I love this feature. So if I am hosting a summit or a bundle or any type of time-sensitive event, I can record an internal ad and then I can air it on the podcast. I can do it as a pre-roll ad or as a post-roll ad, meaning pre-roll at the very beginning, meaning the very first thing when they hit play, or post-roll, meaning the very end of the podcast episode. I can also do mid-roll ads too, so I could technically go back through every single one of my episodes. I can actually zoom in here and pick exactly where I want that ad to go, and I can literally add it in here. The caveat to this is that you have to do it individually. There's simply no other way to do that. But if you are doing it as you go, then you can, it's not that bad. But if you're going back through previous episodes, yeah, you would have to go through every single one. But for ongoing videos, you can just add it as you go. And then you'll just have to remove that again manually as well. But here's the cool thing. If you use the bulk ad editor, once I upload that internal ad, I can hit this button and it literally selected every single one of my episodes all the way down to the trailer. If I add the pre-roll on here, so let's say if I wanted to do a summit waitlist ad and I hit confirm selected files, it's actually going to put this ad on every single one of all all 141 of my podcast episodes. Pretty cool. And then when the summit is over, I can come back in here, I can select them again, and then I can hit remove ads. So it's very, very cool. I don't touch these tools at all either, but you can do episode planning in here. I do my own episode planning in Airtable. I'm going to link you to that video if you want to watch that one next. And you can do research links in here too. Again, I haven't used this. Oh, also, I'm going to show you this too. They also have a Captivate assistant. It's called Spark. I did use it when it first came out, but ChatGPT and me are besties. So I personally don't feel like I need this, so I don't pay any extra for it. And then you can do a bunch of cool things, like you can get tips for your podcast. You can set up a membership for your podcast. It's just so cool, the limitless things that you can do. Obviously, I don't have any of this set up because that's not what I'm doing with my show, but it's cool that you have the option to do that. And then you can put your marketing links here. Like, for example, I put my Spotify here. I'm not sure why my Apple link's not here, but I don't really use this either, to be honest. They have a space for your call to actions. Again, I don't use this either. And, I don't use most of these features, but I still feel like Captivate is completely worth it. It also integrates with MailChimp, Squadcast, which I don't recommend that you use because Descript has its own built-in system that's basically like similar to Riverside. It's called Rooms, where you can have calls right inside of Descript. So for me, Squadcast is not needed anymore. And then it connects with Zapier too. They have a sponsor kit. I don't spend any time with guest booking, but you can absolutely do that in here. I do mine through Airtable, but that is totally an option. And then to put it on your website, you can totally customize the look and feel of the podcast player, which is pretty cool. You can totally customize all of the stuff that you see here. And then have never played with this, but you can have a Captivate website. So mine's enabled. Don't even know what the link is because I don't use it because I have my own website with my podcast on it. But it's so cool that this is an option. And yeah, so the other thing I'm going to show you is the chat. So if you come down here and you click on this little icon down here, that automatically connects you with support. And they are very fast, very helpful, very friendly, and they always help me out very quickly. So I hope that was helpful for you to see exactly what Captivate looks like and how it could benefit your podcast and your business. And don't forget to click the link down below if you want to check out Captivate for yourself. It's an amazing platform. Again, I recommend it to every single person I interact with who inquires about who their podcast host should be. They're the best. If you have questions, feel free to leave them below this video. And don't forget to go join the free community over on School. And if you want to see how I plan out my episodes inside of Airtable, you're going to want to watch this next video. So go ahead and click the video that's on your screen right now, and I'll see you inside that video.